Thank you, Karen. Good morning, New Hampshire. A little rainy out there, or quite a bit rainy. We'll get back to that. It is Thursday. We have that going for us. Good morning, New Hampshire. The Pulse of an Age. Thousands of you are streaming now nationally. The show's gone national on our streaming side of things. Hey, Google. Hey, Alexa, play The Pulse of an Age. Good morning up into Portland, Maine. WTSN. Now that we're on up there into the Portland market, 1270 AM, 91 FM. Hey, we got a packed show for you. High stakes State of the Union tonight. Why? Super Tuesday behind us. It is Biden, Trump again. Here we go in terms of a reelection preview. State of the Union, a very big stage. And you just heard Karen Travis with ABC talking about it. And we have a newsmaker out of the gate. Want to get right to her. U.S. Senator Jeanne Shaheen, leading Democrat of the federal delegation out of New Hampshire. She's seen a few State of the Unions. Senator, good morning. How are you? Well, what preview? My 2 cents. I think the president will touch upon the economy. He'll talk about how some of the policies or the bills they've passed that you've supported, some of these, like the Inflation Reduction Act, are helping. I think he'll talk about the southern border and that bill that's sort of stuck in Congress. I think he may mention some abortion rights. Not sure about Middle East with the ceasefire timetable. What's the preview from Senator Jeanne Shaheen on this tonight? Hmm. Well, Senator Timely is pretty good because I heard from John Delano with the DEA this morning. I think he's coming here tomorrow, and I think he's yeah, and I think he's bringing up folks, and he said he was meeting with Senator Shaheen, you. But one of the things you just touched upon it. Last year, he says the DEA seized 12,000 pounds of fentanyl powder. Last year, 112,000 Americans died of a drug overdose. And one thing I asked the day of the primary here in New Hampshire, Donald Trump was on, and I asked him, if you are reelected or were elected, would you declare those two cartels that control that side of the southern border that the DEA has identified as terrorist organizations to go after their money, go after the labs? He said he would. And so far, I haven't seen the amendment. Do you think that's something that should be considered in the next year or two as we try to combat the cartels? Because it seems like Mexico's not getting the job done. Mhm. Hey, I want to switch gears to the Middle East, Senator. You play a key role in the Senate. By the way, U.S. Senator Jeanne Shaheen live. Good morning, New Hampshire. Preview of the State of the Union in foreign policy. It's been a real forte of yours, and I think somewhat of a passion. You've taken a lot of the trips. Before I touch upon Ukraine, Middle East, very tenuous, ongoing situation. I know the president and Secretary of State Blinken, they want to get a ceasefire at this point. It's not easy to do. Do you sense we're close to a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas? Will there be one? What's holding it up? How soon could it happen? Interesting. Senator, I was thinking this morning, we do not have this next fall with the presidential election. We have an open gubernatorial election. As former governor Chris Sununu, Governor Sununu, not running again. We have an open race. Big couple Democrat names are there. And a couple Republican names are there and others. And it seems to me between Cindy Warmington and Joyce Craig that it seems to me, and I'm not sure, as I say on my show, my significant better half, your significant half, Bill Shaheen, I believe, has endorsed Cindy Warmington, the executive counselor. Joyce Craig's getting a lot of endorsements. Are you going to weigh in officially on this on the gubernatorial race? Oh, oh, oh! I apologize. I thought I had read that he was supporting. Okay. Well, stand corrected. And finally, speaking of you, I know it may sound early, but next year comes, and we don't have a U.S. Senate race in 2024, but the next one is the seat you're holding now. And these Senate races start early. You know that better than anyone. Have you thought about running for reelection? Well, I said to you folks, I know you have a heart out. And again, the State of the Union tonight. Do you think overall it will be received as a good address? Because it is a big chance for the president. There have been questions about his age and stage in life, as you know. He's running again. I think the nomination is his. I think it's the same on the Trump side. But this is a big opportunity tonight, a big stage, big moment. Do you think it'll be received well? Will it help him frame the picture of the State of the Union going into the general? Yeah. Yeah, your family's done a lot on that front. Finally, are you have any guests coming tonight? I heard Representative Papps. Any guest? Okay, I won't ask him about an endorsement in the governor's race, I promise. All right, Senator, thank you. Thank you, Senator Jean Shaheen. Thank you very much, live. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an Age. There's a test coming up if you want to become a New Hampshire state trooper. Coming up on our state police public safety segment brought to you by AutoFair. Sergeant Kopko will talk about that test coming up. By the way, a brand new, super easy, user friendly website for people that want to look at these things will be coming up. A little bit later on, we have a packed show for you. As J Doc said earlier, buckle up. Quite a bit of rain overnight, still coming down out there. Some of our regular contributors this morning, we're going to hear from Militia Presence Anthopoulos, Seacoast Online, Lucas Meyer, some bills in the state Senate today on sanctuary cities. Also, in the next hour, Manchester Mayor Jay Rouet talking about he wants to see bail reform in the state's largest city. He says that they are inundated in Manchester, New Hampshire, with repeat criminal offenders that are not serving really any time. So bail reform, a hot button issue there. A little bit later on, we have a packed 11 o'clock hour as well. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an Age. Back in a moment. Hey, thanks for joining us. Not just New Hampshire, up into Maine, nationally, thousands of you listening now, streaming. The streaming metrics each day, I'm blown away, especially in the 9 to 10 hour around the country, as well as Manchester, Boston, Washington, Pennsylvania. StreamYard, YouTube as well. We have our own YouTube channel up now on the video side in the first hour of the show. Good morning, New Hampshire, the Pulse of an H. As I just said to U.S. Senator Jeanne Shaheen live, now that Super Tuesday is behind us, super or not, depending on how you looked at it, Biden, Trump, here we go. State of the Union tonight. That's a big stage and a chance for President Biden, as Senator Shaheen said, to talk about what they what he feels they've accomplished in the past 3 years, the State of the Union. Not sure how much he'll talk about the Middle East since the ceasefire situation is ambiguous. The southern border, yes, he'll talk about the bill that stalled in Congress. He'll point to Trump and the Republicans to do that, but he's kind of vulnerable on that point, and we'll talk about that. Interesting, Senator Sheen said she's pretty much open if declaring the two leading cartels in Mexico terrorist organizations would help go after their money in labs. She's hosting the DEA here tomorrow. It's interesting. She said she's open to that, something the Biden administration has not done. And no doubt the economy. John Decker, our own White House correspondent, keeping a close eye on this. Good morning, sir. How are you, John? Well, what do you think? Yeah, and I sense that, the way they're going into this, spending all day preparing, really putting his best face and appearance or ability forward. I imagine, what do you think will be about 50 minutes if you had to say, maybe a little less? Yeah, I know. Yeah, interesting. I remember the one you were on former President Bill Clinton. I think I woke up at around 11. He was still going. All right, thank you. Thank you, John. All right. Hey, interested in becoming a New Hampshire State Trooper? Even curious about it? Hey, there's a brand new, super easy, user friendly website. And Sergeant Kopko of the New Hampshire State Police talking about a test coming up that Trooper Nicole Stone referenced the other day in our New Hampshire State Police segment, brought to you Thursday mornings by Auto Fair. Good morning, Sergeant. Good, sir. Thank you. I haven't gone to the site to check out how easy or easier it is, but tell us about the test. What you want people to know about it. Some people may be, unless they've really been focusing on this. I know it's not an easy decision to just, hey, do I want to become a police officer or a state trooper or a firefighter? There's a process, but talk about the test and what you want people to know, Sergeant. What should people be thinking about that other than the commitment? What do they do to prepare to get ready? What should they expect? Can you elaborate on some of that? And what's the timetable, Sergeant? And what was your process, Sergeant? I know I've asked you before, but if you go back a little bit, what surprised you? What did not surprise you? What have you learned since? If you're doing it again, what are the thoughts process? Interesting. And what's your message to someone who's on the fence? Because I know it's a tough thing to be on the fence about. I mean, I wouldn't become a utility worker or a medical professional if I really wasn't, determined and made up my mind. So becoming a state trooper is obviously not a whimsical type career. Very meaningful, very noble, very important to help people. I just heard the other day, Sergeant, about one of your colleagues pulling a young woman out of a vehicle in a dangerous situation the other evening in an accident, pretty much risking his life to save hers. A lot of incredible good comes from this. So, what's your anyone who's sort of on the fence? What would you say to them? And I'm not sure you caught it, Sergeant, but we had Trooper Nicole Stone on the other day with the CEO of Planet Fitness, Craig Benson, talking about because you've been involved, talking about offering, and we may not have a window now, or the window might be short between now and a few weeks. And I want you to conclude and remind people the website, this test coming up, but this idea for interested recruits that Nicole hears about, or you to be able to go to a Planet Fitness in their community prior to going to the academy, prior to taking that physical test, which is part of this. Once they take the written and all the interviews, to have better chances and confidence to pass those physical exams. So that's a pretty cool opportunity coming up, I think, as we try and partner and solve problems or challenges in the community. So that's coming up, and we'll have more on that in future tests. But real quickly, the website, if people want to sign up for this test, the who, what, when, where. All right, Sergeant. Thanks for your service. Good luck with this test or the group. The group. Thank you. And by the way, Trooper Nicole Stone said she was fine to give out her office number if you're someone who may not make this test in a few weeks in March, but wants to look at becoming a state trooper. And what's involved is this physical test, as she said the other day, and that's why Planet Fitness is getting involved, and they have so many locations. And this would be, a public service, if you will, with the state police to say, okay, they're not aware sometimes of what is the physical test. I mean, if you're going to become a police officer or a frontline person, you're probably thinking, I got to be in some degree of physical shape. But what is it specifically? And how can you maybe for future tests this spring go to a gym near you where you can, kind of go through the actual process of what the test is to be in better shape to pass it before you even get to the academy, because you don't want to go through all this and then go there and say, oh, I didn't pass the sit up test or the jogging or the push up test, and I could have if I had prepared better. So we're trying to solve that. Her office number is 603 227 2178. Anyone interested at all in this program coming up? 603 227 2178. 227 2178. And you can also Nicole J. Stone. Nicole period J period is in Jack Stone at dos.nh.gov. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an H. Back in a few. All right, welcome back. And pretty interesting stuff happening, of course, now that Super Tuesday is behind us. It's been a big couple of weeks. You don't think about it because we don't. Some of the stuff is stressful. We're busy. People's attention span is getting smaller and smaller. But Super Tuesday, that's always a big benchmark in any presidential election. Yeah, that's now behind us. It is Biden and Trump. Here we go. Mitch McConnell moving on from senior position in the Senate. Just one of the small or maybe not so small developments. Nikki Haley ending her quest. A lot going on. Looks like, by the way, things like a ceasefire in Gaza is maybe not as near term as people thought. Maybe one reason why tonight I'm not sure President Biden will spend as much time on this because there's nothing really to announce. It's positive. Interesting to hear from U.S. Senator Jeanne Shaheen live on the show this morning out of the gate. Good morning, New Hampshire, the Pulse of an H. Really just focusing on the State of the Union tonight, what she expects the president will deliver and do. And of course, she'd have a sense as much as anyone, if not better. He's going to talk about, as she said, what he's done the last 3 years or his administration. No doubt they're going to talk about inflation and the economy, the so-called Inflation Reduction Act. They'll talk about the border, but in the context of this border bill that stalled. And as she said, because of Trump's influence on Republicans to not vote for it, to give Joe Biden a leg up or on this issue in the election. Regardless of that, I don't think the president is going to talk about his record at the border in the last 3 years because it's horrendous. I'm sorry, that's just the only way to put it. It's horrendous. And it's also it's very disingenuous in some respects to all of a sudden act like this is big and important. I said specifically some things we could do to stop this crisis, which is a humanitarian crisis, it's a violence crisis, it's a crime crisis, and it's a fentanyl crisis at the border. Some of the things we could do, and I don't think the president tonight will talk about it, but the DEA has declared two of the biggest cartels on the Mexico side of the border responsible for 98% of the deaths of Americans. 12,000 pounds of fentanyl powder seized by the DEA. 112,000 people overdosed in America last year. What the hell do you have to do to declare the cartels a terrorist organization? They're multi billion-dollar organizations, well organized, armed, and their goal is to hurt and kill Americans. What the hell are we waiting for? They're terrorist organizations. By doing that, because Mexico is not getting the job done, they're not stopping these cartels. They're afraid of the cartels. We can seize assets, go after their money, go after labs, go after their weapon centers. And Senator Shaheen, to her credit this morning, when I asked her, would you be open to declaring? I asked Donald Trump the day of our primary in New Hampshire in my interview, if you're reelected, will you declare these two leading cartels, like the state of Texas has, terrorist organizations? And Trump said, yes. Yes. One word answer. Yes, I will. Senator Shaheen this morning, leading Democrat, big in the foreign relations and policy side, said that she'd be open to that if that would help make a difference. So she didn't say no. The other thing is, all the executive orders that Biden signed when he became president, no one's talking about that. Stopping the deportation, stopping the building of a wall, changing the quotas. Unbelievable. Encouraging migration to America. And now all of a sudden it's a crisis because we see it, we know it. And this is the thing it's not funny, it's kind of pathetic. If some of the cities in the Northeast, or even from DC up, Boston and New York, hadn't been made to feel the pain from more people than we can handle, like we're seeing now in Boston, Massachusetts, New York City, and DC, had they not been shown the reality of this crisis, Americans wouldn't be realizing the ancillary effects from people pouring into this country that we have no idea and we can't control it. We can't even take care of our own. How many of these folks are breaking the laws here? Why are sanctuary cities giving them haven? By the way, in New Hampshire today, in New Hampshire, the state Senate, they're voting on that sanctuary city bill that would do away with sanctuary city policies and expected to pass. It's expected to pass the state Senate here. That's Senate President Jeb Bradley and the other senators sponsoring this bill were on yesterday talking about this. So now people give a damn. Now people have had enough. We can't have people who we have no idea who they are. Why do they get all these things that we don't even get as Americans and we work for it? We're either born here naturally or people come here legally. Why is someone who comes to this country illegally and they break a law, they commit a crime, why are they exempt from being held once they're arrested in jail and deported? Why the hell? What is this? I mean, I've been saying this for months now on the show. If you and I knocked over a bank, robbed a house, assaulted an innocent person, or mugged two police officers like what happened a month ago in New York City in Times Square, whenever that was, a number of weeks ago, 4 or 7 of these illegal migrants, criminals, punks, thugs, just jumped and mugged 2 police officers in uniform in Times Square on a Saturday night, like at 8:30, 8:39, I think, if my memory's right. They caught them. They caught the suspects, police. They go through the system, and a nutjob judge releases them without bail. And a few weeks later, there was so much outcry on why were they released that the DA in Manhattan basically said, okay, let's get some warrants and find them. They found them at a Greyhound bus station in Phoenix, Arizona. They were taken off the sanctuary cities because they know they can do anything they want. Why is that? Why is that? I can't do that. You can't do that. Why do they get to do that? This is so stupid. It's beyond Don't hide behind the auspices like Representative Ocasio-Cortez and the so-called regressive squad that they care more about migrants than they do American citizens. Don't give me this crap about humanitarian bleeding heart. I'm not talking about someone who comes here legally and wants to work hard to become an American citizen. I have a hard time having more than 10 million people pour into my country, your country, his country, her country, without us even knowing what the hell's going on. You can't turn a blind eye to that. There's a humanitarian crisis. There's rapes at the border. Because the cartel, and that's why it's germane to asking Senator Shaheen and others the question, should they be declared terrorist organizations by us? What are we waiting for? What is our reticence? Look at the damage that has been done to the United States of America. Because the cartels are exploiting the southern border. The cartels are taking advantage of the crisis at the border. Let me repeat that for the idiots in Washington that don't understand that. The cartels are multi-billion dollar organizations. They're taking advantage of the border crisis. The guides are raping most women who are coming across before they get across. That's not nice. That's not kind to people. They're ripping them off. They're leaving them out there to die. They're killing people. They're killing people like ranchers in Arizona on this side of the border, if they even get in their way. And they're pumping fentanyl across our country, and the number one cause of death last year. So don't sit there and tell me you give a damn about this country and about Americans and about young people if you allow this crap to continue. You're a hypocrite. You are a fool if you don't see the reality of what the cartels are doing at the border. And you're a bigger fool if you don't question the national media why they don't report on why it's getting so bad. I don't know the numbers, but I can tell you right now, when Trump and Pence were in there for 4 years, we didn't have 10 or 12 million people coming into this country seeking asylum. The numbers weren't that big. It is out of control. And the cartels are having a field day. And we're sitting here on our hands arguing politics, blaming, finger pointing. We're not doing anything. And I'll tell you right now, a crystal clear truth, which will not be raised tonight when the president gets up there and looks holier than thou and points at Republicans and Trump for stalling and killing this border bill. When for 3 years you've done everything you can to encourage people to come into this country, don't worry about it. Come here, you get here, you're in. You're in. Just say you want to seek asylum, you're in. That's why we have migrant caravans coming, because the indirect message is we risk our lives and go all the way to the border. We're going to get in if we get there. The bottom line that you cannot argue tonight or going forward is we've allowed this to happen. We've allowed this to happen. The national media won't point out the fact that the administration is flying people. I think the numbers are 350,000 people into this country from other countries, so we don't have to look like the border is as much of a crisis. You got to look at the numbers of people that come across who are convicted criminals from the countries they came from. Not all migrants are. I'm not saying that. Not all children are. Not all women are. Not all men are. But the number of people coming across that ICE and their ERO program have had to round up after committing crimes in this country, they find, and on average, each one of them had 4 convictions from the country they came from: murder, kidnapping, rape, gang, or terrorist affiliation. Why is that not a problem? Number one issue on voters' minds right now, ironically or not, is immigration and this border situation. So, yes, both parties have failed for years on any meaningful immigration reform. We never talk about those who come here legally, who become Americans legally. That's like a foreign concept, no pun intended. What a novel concept. You actually come here, play by the rules, become a citizen, raise your hand, and swear an oath to this country or an allegiance. But I guess that's politically a little hard for people, not inclusive to say, I'm going to love this country. You know, I swear I'll be loyal to this country. That's a little hard, because we have college professors teaching college students that you can't say America on campus. So we don't talk about legal immigration at all. Do you notice that? There's never a mention. We have a legal migration crisis. And tonight, It will just be finger pointing. Blame Trump and Republicans. And the president does not need this border bill that he's going to pontificate tonight about in the State of the Union. He doesn't need that to act as commander in chief against an imminent threat to the United States of America as commander in chief. Just like when they ordered drones and our military to take out targets in Syria, or the Air Force to take out the targets in Syria that were Iranian backed terrorist organizations that caused the attack on the remote base in Jordan. Just like we have done at different terrorist targets around the world, the president of the United States can take definite action to protect and secure the border. He doesn't need his Homeland Security Secretary to have a number triggered in by a piece of legislation, this border bill, that none of the members of Congress even have read, including maybe the administration. The media hasn't read it. Why do 4,800 people have to cross the border on any given day for the Homeland Security Secretary to be mandated to act to secure the border? What, you think that bill is good? Almost 5,000 people a day before you do anything? I think 500 people a day is a crisis. 1,000 people, 1,500. Why does it have to be 4,800? Where does this come from? Where does this number come from? That's what's in the bill. Read it. No one else has read it. No one else looks this up. I think it's like 8,500 over a 3 or 4 day period. Then we got a crisis. This bill won't do a thing. The president can right now. He doesn't. He could, before the State of the Union tonight, he could come in and say, today I signed 3 executive orders. I've declared the 2 leading cartels that are controlling the Mexican side of the border, making the situation worse, terrorist organizations. That will enable us to go after their funding, their money, to stop abusing the coyote, the human trafficking of individuals, and fentanyl distribution. Number 2, I've ordered X number of National Guard troops to go to the border and the border states to help, like states like Tennessee, Georgia, and even New Hampshire. Why the hell is New Hampshire sending 85 Guard members to the border? Why isn't the federal government? We're going to enhance security at the border. I'm also ordering an initial bonus and recruitment hiring of more Border Patrol agents. And we're reviewing the deportation quotas and rules. And we're telling sanctuary cities through my 4th executive order today to start cooperating with ICE and deporting criminals who are raping and killing Americans. I'm the president of the United States. I just did that. You don't need Congress. You don't need Congress. Do you think the executive editors of CBS, ABC, NBC, MSNBC, Fox, or CNN know what I just said? Everything I just said, President Biden could have already done or do today before. He could do that at noon if they wrote this stuff up quickly. Probably take a day or two, but it won't take long. Sign them all. Sign them all. Now, some may be challenged, but it doesn't matter. Take action. Send the message. You're going to get tough. Oh, no. Just pass the border bill that we worked on. It's the toughest one we've ever done because you haven't done any. And Republicans and Trump are standing in the way. No, you're standing in the way. You're standing in the way. You could do everything I just said in a New York minute without Congress. I know it. You know it. But again, politics. Hey, Google. Hey, Alexa, play the pulse of an age. All right, welcome back. You know, it's interesting the things that really do matter. And I was amazed. It was kind of fascinating. Yesterday on the show, we had three different stakeholders in the mental health side of things in the community. And the the beauty and sometimes the blessing of being able to do a show like this is I can maybe raise some commonsensical questions or points to at least make us think. And once in a while, once in a while, and this is the biggest blessing, once in a while, we're able to work with others and get something done to make a difference. For example, a number of years ago, and he'll be checking in later today, Tom Raffio, President and CEO of Northeast Delta Dental, hosted Delta Dental Radio, and does so much in the community. When I found out when I was on kind of my initial tirade on why our veterans, I mean, does this make any sense? Why are veterans given the back seat in care? It's stupid. It makes no sense. Members of Congress wouldn't like to go through what veterans have gone through to get the care they earned and deserved. No one else, speaking of illegal migrants, no one else has earned, by the way. There's a big difference. I said this in many, many talks that I gave a couple of years ago on this and outside groups. I don't like the word speech, but speech, talks. There are so many Americans in this country that feel they're entitled to some benefits, entitled. Where's my pizza? Where's mine? Veterans earned. So how asinine and stupid is it? Less than 1% serve 330 million people. We've got a couple of wars going on right now, by the way. Less than 1%. And veterans have to stumble and bumble and go through the clunky bureaucratic red tape way to get what they earned. Not entitled, they earned it. They signed a contract that we all indirectly or directly signed with them to take care of them mentally and physically. How have we done? Pretty crappy, right? That's one thing that makes no sense. The other one is healthcare. Makes no sense to me. None whatsoever. Mental health. We had three different people yesterday in the last 2 days on the show talking about this. So the number one health issue facing all of us and our families and our loved ones, stuff that really, really matters versus all this other crap, is health, right? Mental health is a crisis in America. I'm talking anxiety, depression, behavioral issues, behavioral challenges, suicide's too high, and addiction is too high as well. And sometimes they unfortunately can go all hand in hand. So how stupid is it that we don't even count in our primary care coverage on things like insurance, benefits, mental health coverage? Why isn't behavioral health part of primary health? And that's something Maria Pruitt, Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield, is correctly championing right now to get coverage earlier. So, do you know how, again, this is just in the last year or two in this state and country. How asinine is it that if you or your kid or nephew or niece or significant other had a mental health episode, the only recourse for you is to jump in the car and go to the local emergency room in a hospital that doesn't have any resources or people there or experts or therapists to help you. So you're held in an observation room, like when you're waiting in the emergency room with someone who has to watch you to make sure you don't hurt yourself or others. And then they wait for a bed or officials out there, like therapists, clinicians, to treat or help you. And some people have waited days or weeks in a hospital. I mean, how asinine is that? Why don't we stop the train, change that? Make New Hampshire a recruitment bed for more mental health professionals to live here, to enjoy our mountains and our streams and our way of life, no income tax, recruit, open up more facilities. It's the number one health issue is mental health. And we don't even do anything about it. We just let it get worse. I mean, heart attack, stroke, cancer, all serious challenges, accidents. We just let it get worse. Again, it's common sense. The Mexican cartels are killing young people with the fentanyl poison or poison known as fentanyl. We don't go after them and declare them terrorist organizations. More people have a behavioral health or mental health challenge. What about young people? Anxiety and anxiety and depression through the roof. You can't be well physically if you're not well mentally. It's almost impossible. It really is. The health above the neck, your head, your feelings. If you have chronic mental health issues, it's going to affect your body in many, many ways, from digestion to heart to stress to blood pressure to back to neck. So all these things are just so. Why do we complicate them? Why do we not address them? Why don't we stop the train and make changes and improvements? And I'll tell you why. Money and politics. Money and politics stand in the way of real positive change. Money and politics. And Washington is the biggest problem for both of those things, money and politics. There you go. I'm not running for any office. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an Age. Come back. Alicia Preston Xanthopoulos, APX, Seacoast Online. And the mayor of Manchester a little bit later on wants to have bail reform so repeat criminal offenders are not out on the streets every week. Back in a moment.